All right, I am home from a day on the road. I was right at the Arkansas border today at Van Buren, Missouri. They are kicking off their Click It or Ticket event with a group of state troopers. So it is the NHTSA, National Highway and Safety Traffic Administration, and we had just a really small event down there. I only spoke for about 4 minutes, but I wanted to share that with you guys as just a way to tell these guys thank you and just kind of like replenish the reason that they're doing this. You know, nobody gets a thank you when they do this kind of job. So here it is.
Yeah. So my name is Carey Portell. I'm going to wrap things up for you today as a testimony. On the way here, I was thinking about the audience that we were all speaking to. We all have stories that are difficult to share, but we share them anyway because somewhere along the line, our story becomes less about us and more about everybody else that we encounter. 13 years ago, on Route 66 in Cuba, Missouri, 2 of my children were involved in a fatal drunk driving crash. Going to town 6:20 in the evening. I'm going to say a gentleman, I always say a gentleman, made a really, really bad choice that Wednesday evening. And he was passing a vehicle on a hill and around a corner when he encountered 3 of us in a row coming towards him. That decision ended his life, and it completely altered mine and my family's. His BAL was .265. He was somewhere in excess of 85 miles an hour when we hit head on. It was primarily him and I, even though there were 3 of us in line. My 2 children took about 6 weeks to be able to recover, but it took me the next 4 years of having one reconstructive surgery after another to be able to get to 1,800 steps a day. So I know standing up here is quite confusing that I don't look like I'm partially disabled, but I use a wheelchair 80% of my day. I can stand for about as long as it's going to take me to give this presentation. This man was in his 60s. He was a repeat offender, and I'm sure when he left the bar that night at about 5:45, he didn't think that that would be the last time that he ever got behind the wheel of his truck. The 17-year-old boy that was driving the Suburban behind me was the last point of impact for that man, and that boy struggled for years thinking that he was the one that killed that impaired driver. Because when he hit him, when he T-boned him, it partially ejected that man. That impaired driver was the only one out of all 4 of those vehicles who was not wearing his seatbelt. He hit so hard that he bounced out of his seat, hit the roof of his truck, and broke his neck. At some point along the line, he suffered a heart attack. And when that 17-year-old boy T-boned him, he was then partially ejected out of his truck. I know it's probably not just my opinion that any kind of distracted driving is not an accident, it's not a mistake, it's always a choice, whether we are the driver or the passenger. Because our behavior as a passenger always affects the focus of who that driver is. I have been the most introverted person you could possibly imagine until this happened to me. And I didn't want to become a speaker. I fought it. I did not want to do it. I hate having attention on me. But that pull became so strong that one day I literally just said, fine, I'll do it. And it was a struggle. I mean, my first year was a struggle because you would think after 4 years that, you know, you've healed enough, you've been able to move forward, but I hadn't been able to move forward because all I did for 4 years was have one surgery after another, just trying to get to a place where I can say, oh my gosh, I get to live again. I don't just get to exist and survive. So I became a huge advocate. I speak on all types of things, but distracted driving is the one that I get called for the most just because of my situation. As we sit here today, I feel like we have a lot of camaraderie. We're all working towards the same thing. And I would like today to be a reminder for all of us to stop and take a moment and just cherish the life that we have. Continue to be responsible never give up the fight to get to zero.